Welcome to episode 19 of the Melton True Blue podcast. Today I'm joined by Bret, and we're going to talk a little health and wellness today. So Bret, tell us a little bit about yourself, man. Tell us about your time at Melton.
Well, I've been at Melton for 18 years. Prior to Melton, I worked at St. John Health Club. Worked there for about 16 years. I worked in cardiac rehab, pulmonary rehab, diabetes education classes. I did a lot of personal training. Spent most of my time managing that club toward the end. At that club, we did a lot of exercise testing, stress testing, body fat back in the day where we didn't have an in-body like we have here at Melton. And then before that, I went to Oklahoma State, got my degree in health and community wellness. And that was back in 1994. So I've been in the gym industry for 31 years, haven't left it, love it. Probably never will leave it. It's probably where I'm going to stay till I croak.
It's awesome. Yep. Man, we love having you here, man. You've been a real help to me personally on a lot of different things, which is cool. But today we're kind of focused on truck drivers, right? So here at Melton, we have a lot of over-the-road truck drivers. So I want to talk kind of a little bit more specific to that to some degree. And we know that any truck driver, it's a demanding job, right? It's a tough job. They have to go out there and do some hard work, but even more so for our drivers who are over-the-road drivers. They're spending multiple weeks out on the road. They have long days. What would you say some of the unique challenges that our drivers face when it comes to maintaining their health and their fitness?
There's a lot of things. I think, when I look, because I've never been a driver, so it's really difficult for me to look on the outside in, but I've been here long enough and I've talked to enough drivers, thousands of them, that I know that space is a big issue. Gym access is a really big issue. Now, you can get to a gym if you're a driver and you can use your PC time, but of course that's a little bit tricky. And, with the time, most of you guys run so hard, it's hard to find that time. You're running hard and you got to get the next load, all that good stuff. So, find a place to work out, find the space. Then also, food. Food's a big challenge. A lot of truck stops now are serving healthier foods. But when they're offering you a sub sandwich for $6 and a large pizza for $3, it's a difficult choice to make when you're there. And I think we all of our trucks have refrigerators and freezers in them. But just like any company, with the refrigerators you're going to have, the freezers are going to be tiny. So packing frozen meats and healthy frozen foods is a really difficult challenge. We've kind of overcome some of that with a lot of our drivers. I talked to a lot of our drivers who will go out and buy a portable freezer, which is a huge help to them so they can put all their meat and really kind of do their meal prep and all that good stuff. So yeah, I think space, gym access, and then the selection of foods, you'll have to hit a grocery store once a week and fully stock up and all that good stuff. It's just all a challenge. So yeah.
And you hit some important topics right there. You're talking about, eating healthy while you're away whenever there's incentive to save some money and eat some unhealthy stuff. You talk about meal prepping and taking some good healthy food out there. Now, do you have an opportunity to connect with our drivers on a consistent basis? So maybe give them some tips and some suggestions, maybe some reasons why they need to focus on that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I meet with our new guys every Monday. So I usually talk to our new guys in orientation every Monday. And then countless times I have drivers come into my office and talk to me about diet, nutrition. We also have a Facebook group. So those drivers who are on Facebook are on Facebook can search Melton Torqued with a D. Torque is the name of our gym, so just add a D to the end of it, and that's our group. You can ask to join that group, and I post. I get a lot of questions on there, but I also post workouts every Friday. We've got tons of recipes posted on there, and I do have a lot of interaction on social media that way, so just pretty cool.
Okay, that's cool. So you're doing that initial meet with them, talking about some of these important topics, and then you have that follow-up through individual communications and then through Facebook and stuff like that. That's cool. Yep. So going back to, you talked about some of the drivers being able to get to the gym and you kind of give them some advice on how to do that. That is tough to do though, like you mentioned, right? After a long, hard day, on the road, sometimes you're just too tired or sometimes you just don't want to, use that personal conveyance to get to the gym. What are some things a driver could do to stay physically active without going to?
Well, this weather is difficult right now. In the winter, it's always difficult to get outside of your truck and work out. I mean, I don't want to go outside right now. It's miserable here in Oklahoma, but there are a lot of workouts you can do just outside your truck with very minimal equipment. Our veterans know and are very well aware that you really don't need a fancy gym to get a good workout. Your body weight's one hell of a tool. I always say that to everybody. So there's a lot of stuff you can do outside your truck. And again, our Facebook group has tons and tons of workouts. In the cab, you can definitely do some work. You've got limited space. This might be a little bit different for team drivers and trainers that have, a little bit limited space. But the guys driving out in a single truck can do. They can flip their mattress up. You can do all kinds of exercises. You can do push-ups. You can do goblet squats, which you a kettlebell or a dumbbell, and do goblet squats. You can stand on the bed after your mattress is lifted up and do lunges. Resistance bands are great for inside of a truck. So resistance bands, you can tie them up at different points around the truck. You can do pretty much emulate anything you do in a big gym on a cable machine. You can pretty much copy inside your truck. And I've got workouts for all that stuff canned in my office. I can give drivers. So
Awesome.
yeah.
So a driver, they're spending the majority of their day. You want flatbed drivers when we're securing loads, tarping loads. The majority of our time really is spent in the seat, right? We're sitting down, we're driving. How much physical activity a day or how often a week would you recommend them to stay engaged with?
I recommend do something every day. Do something every day. Now, if you go out and do your load securement, that's your workout. I don't want to do your load securement. So I know that's a workout. So days that you do that, skip that. Other days, if you can get out most days during the week and at least do a 30-minute walk, keep your heart pumping, that's important. But, what I found here with our in-body machine, our body fat testing, is that most people that even lose weight lose a lot of muscle along with that. So strength training is really important. So just finding some time to do some strength training. And normally, if you did a total body strength routine, you could go 3 days a week on strength training, and the rest of the week just do your cardio. A lot of guys that have been in the gym quite a while like to do splits. You might be working chest, shoulders, and triceps on one day, back, legs, and biceps on another day. With that kind of a routine, you could honestly train every day during the week. You could train 7 days a week. But typically a muscle needs to be, I always say, beat up. You need to work a muscle pretty hard at least twice a week to get some kind of benefit from it.
Okay. Now, I know you like to, what was I going to say? Pause. God, I had something in my brain a second ago that I was going to say. I thought it was really good too. And then I forgot it. Okay. So I know you like to celebrate a lot of the successes that you see with some of the drivers that you work with. Can you share any success stories of drivers that maybe kind of stick out to you?
Yeah, we've had some successes and we've had some scary stuff happen. One success story I can think of that I often share with the guys at the street when I talk to new hires is we had a driver here, an ambassador, who honestly didn't come through Tulsa very often. I think he avoided Tulsa as much as he could. So I didn't really know him very well, but he'd been here for a long time. And he came into my office and we talked, and he'd lost 207 pounds.
Wow. Which
is shocking, and it was hard to believe he lost that much weight. But he was I believe he told me he was in a 7X t-shirt. And when he came into my office to see me to show me his results, he was down to an extra large. And that was mind blowing to me. And he did that all inside of a truck. So, and a lot of that was what he told me that made what he did for success. Because we talked to him one time ago, you've got to keep your carbs low, your sugar low, kind of watch your carbohydrate intake and your sugar. But really, it was overall calories. You can eat super, super healthy, but if you're getting too many calories, it's going to kick in the tail. So that's kind of what he did. Is he cut his sugar back, started tracking his calories, and kept his sugar intake, where it needs to be. And lost just a ton of weight just with diet alone. He did a little bit of working out, but driving flatbed, he said, I get enough work driving a flatbed, and most of the weight loss just came from dieting.
So, I mean, that's a really simplified approach that he took right there, right? Overall calories, watching my sugar. I'm sure that's something that you try to, I don't want to say dumb it down, but simplify it for drivers too. Maybe they've never done anything like this before, or maybe they're joining the company who didn't have a really healthy background. I'm sure that's a great way to kind of prepare those guys.
Yeah, and a really easy thing to do for anybody, for a truck driver, for the general public, if you're really wanting to get control of your food, is to start number one with tracking your intake. There are several free apps out there you can track with foods on. It sounds like a lot of work, so a lot of people just are scared to do it. But MyFitnessPal is a great app. You can use it. They did start charging for some of the basic features, so I've kind of quit using that. I've gone to the Lose It app. It's a free app. You can get it for Android and Apple. But it's when you start tracking your food, it makes you more food aware, and it kind of brings to light some things in maybe your diet that you didn't realize were so high in calories. Like a good example, and I share this story with the orientation guys. when I started doing paleo, which I ate paleo for a long time, which is very limited carbs. It's sweet potatoes, no white potatoes. It's basically no pasta, no corn, all that kind of stuff. And you're cutting all the grains out. I was not losing weight, and I was struggling with it, and I couldn't figure out why. And I wasn't food logging, so it'd been years since I'd food logged. So I'm like, I'm gonna figure this out. What's going on? So I started food logging, and one of my foods that I had, which was paleo, okay, I mean a little bit of sugar, and I probably shouldn't have had it, but was you probably seen the tropical trail mix bags at Walmart. So I was having 3 and 4 handfuls of that a day. It's because it's dried fruit, it's cashews, it's some, that's really about it. It's really pretty, you'd think it'd be pretty healthy. But one serving of that's 120 calories. A bag of that's 3,000. And I was eating about a quarter of a bag or half a bag a day. So I was going through it pretty fast. That's why my teeth are so bad probably. But so that was what I found when I started food logging. So that sold me immediately to start food logging again. So I've logged my food for I don't know how many days straight. Even when I have a bad day, even when I have a cheat day, I still log my food. It's kind of fun to, at the end of the day, on my cheat days, to see how many calories I can put in my body. But during the week, if you'll just, if you start food logging and you keep those calories where those apps tell you to keep them, you should, without fail, lose weight.
Okay. And you mentioned a couple of apps and resources, but whether for, tracking your calorie intake, your diet, or for physical activity, kind of in addition to some of the resources that you post, like the workout of the day on Friday and the other things that you put in the Facebook group, is there any of the kind of resources, apps, or anything like that you suggest?
Yeah, YouTube is a great resource. I'm a YouTuber. It's all I look at YouTube stuff all the time. There are a couple of YouTubers that I really am fond of, and when I started eating healthy or healthier, I started thinking about what foods do I really like to cheat on, and it's ice cream, it's pizza, it's Mexican food, all that stuff. So I just started doing some YouTube searches. This is years ago on healthy pizza, and there's a bunch of YouTubers out there, and I'll recommend a couple. Flexible Dieting Lifestyle is probably my favorite YouTuber. And what I like about him and what he does is he posts a really nice, very well produced video with all the recipes. And then if you go in at the bottom in the description, he'll usually post, if you want these recipes, subscribe to my mailing list. And I do that because I get so many recipes free from that. So all the recipes you watch in the video, you can get them almost immediately downloading in a nice PDF format. They're really nice looking too when they come out. Matter of fact, I brought one. So they kind of look like this, and they just got recipe after recipe in here, and they're all healthy stuff. I mean, there's stuff that you would look at and go, that's got to be not good for you. But it's what he put into those foods that made them so healthy. Another one that I like is Remington James. He's kind of a weird cat, but he does post some great videos. That's kind of where I got started with Remington James. I bought his cookbook, but he's got ice cream and just so many things out there that you like to eat and to make him healthier. And that flexible dieting lifestyle YouTuber, he even has a bunch of videos. If you've got like a Ninja Creamy at the house to make ice cream, he's got a Ninja Creamy at the house, or he's got a bunch of Ninja Creamy recipes to make things really healthy and high protein, which is cool too. So
awesome. Pretty cool. So, we all know that trucking is not the healthiest industry out there, right? We do spend a lot of time sitting, staring out a windshield. But, you've been around for a long time. Would you say that things have evolved over time? Is there more focus on health and wellness, helping prepare these drivers to live a more active and healthy lifestyle?
I think so. I think from what I'm seeing from especially our younger employees that we're hiring, is there's just a lot more interest in our gym and in our wellness program. When I talk to drivers on Monday, I usually have 5 or 6 come down and do an a body fat test with me. And then a lot of them, when they come in to the gym, they give them a tour on the gym their second week or the last week. They're just blown away, and they're excited about working out. They want to hit the gym so hard they can't stand it. So it's really changed. And I think we share enough here. We put out enough information here and make people aware enough of what can happen if you don't exercise, you don't eat healthy. That it really kind of moves people to make some changes. And our culture here is kind of what drives that.
So, Bret, maybe there's a driver out there who's kind of vibing with what you're talking about right here. They want to make some changes to their diet or their physical activity. What are some steps that a driver can take right now to go out there and make some of those kind of improvements and just kind of integrate those simplified processes into their daily activity right now?
I think number one, for a driver, especially if you haven't had any blood work completed in quite a while, get a checkup. Visit with your doctor. Make sure it's safe for you to exercise. Most doctors are going to say it's more safe for you to exercise than not. But, get your labs checked. Find out where your cholesterol is. If you've got family history of diabetes, it's always a good idea to know what your hemoglobin A1C is as well. And that's interesting. I had a guy in orientation. I was talking about getting your blood sugar checked. And I said, if you've got family history, blah, blah, blah. He went down and had his blood sugar checked the next morning. He got an appointment, went down there, and found out he was diabetic. Just from that, I had no idea.
Yeah.
And, if you don't know, like blood sugar, when you've got excess blood sugar flowing through your system, it's like battery acid to your vessels. That's why most diabetics, that they don't manage their diabetes, die from heart attack or stroke, because it just chews away the lining inside those arteries. So getting your blood work checked is probably the number one thing. Getting all your physical stuff checked. At Melton, we've got an in-body body composition machine, which is it's an expensive machine to have. We're lucky to have it, but it can actually tell you your percent body fat, pounds of muscle, pounds of water, and even shows things segmentally, how much muscle you have in your arms or legs. One benefit of that is for a driver using a lot of muscle during the day, it can show you if you have adequate muscle in each part of your body. And if you're a little deficient, honestly, a lot of our guys and a lot of our girls are deficient in their legs. They don't train their legs. We all hate training legs. So I had a gentleman come in this morning, and everything looked good except for his legs. They were in the 80 percentile, which they should be closer to the 100 percentile. So we talked about that. He knew about that. He wanted to start training his legs. It helps prevent injury. It makes your job a lot easier, all that good stuff. But getting some pre-testing stuff done is probably important, and to kind of know where you're at. That way you can kind of set some end goals, or some short goals and an end goal. But also I think if you want to start something immediately that'll work, food logging. I talked about food logging already, but I think food logging is probably the number one thing you can do to start making big changes with your body right now.
And I love the way you started that out. The blood test, the in-body test. These are some things like, hey, we want to make some really good changes, but we kind of need to know where we are right now, right? And that in-body test can be really humbling, right? It can make people shy away from it.
Yeah.
But again, it's getting on there, doing that test, learning where they're good, where they're bad, where they need improvements. So it's a really cool tool.
Yeah, the having blood work done and all that stuff may scare our drivers. Like the cost, it's going to be so expensive. We have a free clinic. Any employee in this company can use our clinic absolutely free. And they'll do any type of blood work you need to get done. Usually the doctor has to recommend it. But if you went into our clinic and said, hey, I've never had my cholesterol checked, the doctor's going to run a full panel on you. Especially, another thing that I think is cool here that we have quite a few guys go get done is the testosterone testing. So typically after age about 40, 45, most men, you start seeing a dip in your testosterone levels, which can make a guy feel horrible. I mean, it makes you feel tired, sluggish, you have no sex drive. It makes it hard to lose weight. So I always tell guys, if they're approaching 45, 50, kind of getting up there in age a little bit. I'm 53, so I can say that. That they're feeling some of those symptoms, if they're just not having a zest for life, if they're tired all the time, all those things, go into the clinic and talk to the doctor about it. You'll likely recommend you get a testosterone test. And if it's low, he can supplement with it. So you could take that on the road with you, and they'll give you all the injection stuff, or you could get a cream or a patch to put on and actually completely get rid of that whole issue, and it'll change your life, I promise you. So.
Yeah. And what's really awesome, you mentioned the clinic over here, man. The doc takes the time to really sit down and give you that feedback and talk about some solutions and things that you can do. I mean, it's really personal, service over there.
Yeah, and it's free. Melton covers all the costs. Now, it's not free. I mean, Melton pays for everything for that, which is a big expense for the company, but I think Bob feels so importantly, about keeping our drivers in good health, our employees in good health, and that's why we spend so much money on that. But I want everybody to go to that clinic that needs to go to the clinic. It's such a good service, and they do such a nice job. And like you said, if you have an appointment in there for blood work or really just for a consult with the doctor, you're going to get 30 minutes of his time. It's blocked out, and not like a typical doctor's office where you're waiting 2 or 3 hours. Our clinic gets you in right away, and then you can spend as much time as you want to talk with the doctor. It's not rush in, rush out, because other clinics are working off quota. We're working off driver help. So that's kind of a big difference, I think, that we have here that a lot of other folks don't.
Yeah. So, Bret, I'm going to backtrack for a second. You talked a little bit about eating healthy and making good decisions, things like that. Can you dive a little bit deeper into that for us?
Yeah, it really doesn't have to be hard. A lot, if I always tell people if creating a diet plan and eating healthy was really hard, if it was rocket science, I'd make a whole lot more money than I do. So it's not difficult to do. First, start with food logging. That's a great, like I said earlier, that's a great eye opener. And then really focus. What I would focus on once you get your calories under control, I would focus on getting enough protein. That'd be my second step. Don't worry about carbs and fat yet. Get your protein up. Your protein you need to be getting about 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. And that's because your muscle typically, if you don't use your muscle and you don't feed your muscle with protein, it catabolizes it. You lose that muscle tissue, especially as we get older. So getting enough protein, and then start focusing on carbs and fats. And I recommend about 45% of your diet come from protein, 30% come from carbs, and about 25% or less come from fat. Keep your sugar very, very, very low. And on carbohydrates, there are so many cool things out there now for drivers. There are low carb wraps. What I typically do is I'll go into the Walmart app. I shop at Walmart and I'll type in low carb or keto, and you'll see a list of foods. And I always click in store so I know what they kind of have in store. So for drivers, heading to Walmart, maybe jump on that app first and search in there and kind of find some foods you want to find. It even shows what aisle they're in, all that good stuff. So that's probably what I would recommend first. But I've seen I've done 1,600 in-bodies here, our body fat tests. And typically guys that are losing muscle, guys and girls who are losing muscle tissue, if we go back and look at their food logs, their protein intake's about 20 to 30% less than what it should be. So,
and something else you mentioned earlier, you're talking about eating healthy, right? So switching it up, we're not eating convenient, we're not eating fast food and truck stop food nearly as much. You mentioned cheat days, right? Yeah. So let me just throw this at you. I'm sure a lot of drivers, a lot of people out there perked up when he said cheat days. So for a driver who's going to maybe spend 2 weeks away from home, so how would you integrate some cheat days into something like that? Where should those cheat days be when they go home?
I would make a cheat day once a week. I would reward yourself 1 day a week, but make it a predefined day during the week. So if you're just at a killer truck stop and it's got everything, all the food you could ever eat, don't make that your cheat day. Always save it to the day you got it locked in for. So I always have mine on Saturday. I work 5 days a week. I'm home on the weekends. Drivers are different. You may have a day that's a little bit lighter than others, but pick whatever day works for you and have a cheat day. Eat whatever you want. Eat all the food you want. You can track your calories or not. Like I said earlier, I do for fun, but if you want a piece of apple pie or a whole apple pie, eat it. You'll gain weight that day, and next couple of days you'll see that weight go away really quick. Usually the weight gain from that kind of a 1 day binge, and I don't typically say binge, but one day of eating a little bit more food than you normally eat, you're going to have a high sodium intake probably. So you're going to hold a lot of water. So a lot of that water weight will dissipate over the next few days. Yeah. And for guys, the rest of the week, for those 6 days a week, what I would recommend doing is jump on that Melton app. We've got a cookbook on there called the Melton Muscle Meals, and it has tons of recipes in there that I put together quite a while ago. But and it's step by step. Some you can cook in the truck, some you may have to make at home. But there's a lot of recipes in there you can actually make in your truck, which is kind of cool.
Well, you mentioned binge. I'm sure that first or second cheat day will probably be a binge, but it probably tapers off over time, right?
It does. As you start getting results, most people internally don't want to see those results go away. So it makes it harder and harder to have a cheat day. One other thing too is when you're eating those 7 days a week and when you're just getting started eating healthy, it's just like quitting smoking. You're going to have a day where you fall off the horse. You just don't make that like a 6 or 7 day binge. Yeah. Say I screwed up today. Don't feel bad about it. Don't beat yourself up about it, but just know that you're going to get back on that horse tomorrow and start right back up.
All right. Man, great information, man. I appreciate you joining us today, Bret. So if someone wanted to connect with you, what's the best way for them to reach you?
By email, you can email me at Bringham, BRINGHAM, at meltontruck.com, or give me a call, 918-270-9611, or message me on Facebook. I'm Bret Torque Dude. I do most of the posting on there, so once you join that group, you can message me in there all you want, and that's a great way to communicate too as well.
All right. Appreciate it, Bret. Hey, thanks for joining us, guys. We're going to catch you on the next episode.